Hi everyone, this is Efrem Bonfiglioli and I'm the head of pre-sales at ILTS. Thanks again for joining the webinar. And what I wanted to do is leave you this nice short video where we present how ILTS for AI can help you implement your AI governance. Feel free to send over your comments and enjoy this video.
As a user, I always like to start from dashboards. The first dashboard we take a look at is an AI use case dashboard, where I can immediately, for instance, see distribution of different use cases per ownership, AI Act role, or lifecycle status. Let's focus on the AI use case per owner. And I'll immediately notice that I have a prohibited use case under YOS. I can click to drill down and I can see that the prohibited use case is this facial recognition in security camera. We will come back to this later to investigate why this is a prohibited use case and what actions we can take to remediate. But for now, let's focus on the inventory section. It's important as part of AI governance to capture not only AI use cases, which basically are specific AI systems used in a given context, but as well as to capture connected objects such as models, ChatGPT, for instance, an example on AI model, or datasets that are used in the context of a given use case. Let's go into the AI use case, inventory, and see, for example, that the facial recognition in security cameras is one of these use cases that we have in the inventory. What we would like to see is some more information, some more detail about the use case. Of course, we have some main attributes that also show that we are deployer according to AI Act. That's our role. And of course, as just mentioned, the class is being tagged into prohibited. We can come back to this classification because we can also use questionnaires to assess the class based on given questions that are in line with the UI Act. And so intended purpose is a very important other type of content. And this is, for instance, where we can see that the context of this use case is that CCTV camera is used and is placed in a public area. Of course, because pictures or images are taken from the outside. As you can see, there are also some cars with some plates for which we have pictures for. This is actually a prohibited application under the OEI Act because, of course, there is no target, specific target in terms of the images that we're taking here. So it's really public information. Very important also to see is that because of this, findings were raised. A finding is in essentially an issue that we encounter as to raise the fact that this is a prohibited application. We like to remediate this use case. We can get some more details by accessing this finding. You can see that indeed the description says that we need to fix this issue with the CCTV camera because now it monitors public area. We can clearly see who raised the finding and who's a responsible user. Very importantly, next to the finding, we also want to see any remediation. So an action plan typically can be put in place to assess this. So again, we can track together the finding itself as well as its remediation and potentially review for closure. To continue the journey, again, typically AI governance, especially if in the context of a given regulation, like in our example, the EU AI Act, we would like to be guided through as to what information content needs to be captured. So we want to show an example here, looking at this YFG AI Power Assistant, of how such content can be collected so the stakeholders can be guided through a process to collect information. And before we do this, we can see that the classification that we talked about here is essentially a record that we have for this use case. There's a questionnaire that's been filled in, and the result of this questionnaire, of course, in this case, was that the application, in this case, a non-high risk. This is our internal assistant at ILTS. But most importantly, I can see a link to a process view that takes us through a particular, all stages of a life cycle where information needs to be populated. As you can see, class determination is one of them. But what's importantly, I want to focus though on the final step, which is actually to collect all this evidence in terms of, for instance, development, deployment, depending on the role, and populate documents. Typically, as part of the AI use case lifecycle, we will be required to produce documents, and the sort of the complexity or the details that this content contain typically depends on whether you are a deployer or developer. In this example here, as a provider or developer of the AI use case, we are required to generate the technical document in compliance with the Annex 4 of the UI Act. And this is where in the ILTS application, you have a dedicated step where documents can be generated. And these documents will contain all the information that's been collected through the life cycle that are relevant for this particular technical document. As you can see, multiple documents can be generated within the application, and the EUA Act technical document is one example. By definition, the first draft is generated automatically by the system, and when we open the content editor, we can first see that the template that was available in the application, which is specifically made in the default configuration in line with Annex 4 of the UI Act, was populated with content. So as you can see, a comprehensive document was already generated here with more than 30 pages. The different sections have been filled in, whether it be intended purpose or capturing any dependencies, upstream, downstream dependencies of the AI use case, as well as lots of information to do with relevant for the provider of the application. And basically, as you can see, in the end, a very comprehensive document is produced. This draft document can still be edited before it's published and it's made available to all the users.